So in this video, we're going to answer the question, why are home prices skyrocketing in our city?
So high.
So stay tuned.
Hey everybody, I'm Sean Dezad,
And I'm Courtney Dezad, and we're from Keller Williams Realty.
right here in Orange County, California. And if this is your first time to the channel, you want to know everything about working, eating, sleeping, living, and playing in Orange County, don't forget to click on the subscribe button, and don't forget to click on the little bell so you're notified every time a new video comes out. So we get so many calls from people looking to either buy or sell a home in Orange County, and we absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about either moving to, moving from, or moving within Orange County, don't forget to either give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email.
Or you can contact us via WhatsApp. However you want to get a hold of us, we've got your back. So obviously, Sean is the expert on this, so I will be prompting Sean and asking him questions. So, the number one reason, well, not number one reason, one of the reasons, I'm having a list, I'm looking at my notes, lack of supply. So talk about how lack of supply will make prices go up in your home, in your town.
So if you've taken any sort of economics class, you know that there's the classic supply and demand curve. This is
all of economics.
And basically, when you don't have much supply, the prices tend to go up. I mean, we're seeing just, really low levels, and it's been consistent for this entire year. Like, ever since we kind of started getting out of the pandemic, really, so this is, I would say, once the economy started opening up in, I would say, even June of last year, we just saw tight supply, and you're going, it's gonna let up, but it hasn't let up yet. And so when you just don't have that much supply, then any buyers who are on the market, they're gonna flock to those properties because they can't be picky. There's just nothing else. There's really very few properties on the market, and then you just end up getting these bidding wars because what are your options?
Yeah, and then so you're talking about buyers. So strong demand.
Yes.
Explain. Right now, there's very strong demand.
Yeah. So basically, we're dealing with the other end. So you have supply, which is constrained, and demand, which is high. Which again, both put those two together, and you got skyrocketing prices. And there's just so many people that are needing to buy a home right now, and there's a variety of reasons why. But I think that one thing that people were saying was that during the pandemic is that people were cooped up in their place, right? However small, and they go, I need to get out of here. I need something bigger. And in particular, you're seeing properties like single-family residences. They are just exploding in value because people are going, I need to get into something larger. And with the whole change to the work environment where people are working more remotely, what you're seeing is that typically when you think of real estate, it's all about location, location, location. Now it's kind of shifting a bit where location is obviously important, but another component that's super important is just size. People want more home for their money because, again, everything's got more expensive. So they're kind of venturing farther and farther east. And we're just seeing that, people can work remotely. They can actually justify living a little bit farther away from work because they're going, well, I don't go to work. Either I don't go to work at all or I go to work just very few times a week.
Yeah. And then, part of the demand, though, is the interest rates. So talk about the interest rates and why it's creating stronger demand.
Yeah, so what's helping fuel the demand is the low interest rates. We're still at very, very low interest rate levels. I don't know how long it will last, but at present, it's super low. It's not as low as it necessarily was in the very beginning of the pandemic, but it's pretty close. And people are getting, they're able to, their monthly payment off of what they're buying is very reasonable because, again, a huge component of your monthly payment is one, your principal balance, which basically is your loan amount, as well as what your interest rate is. And so basically between those two, with the interest being low, it's making properties the people can buy way more than what they could traditionally.
Yeah, so, and then another point that you gave when we were talking about this last night is another reason that home prices have gone up is that you said, people that are making money, they're making more money right now, right?
Yeah, so, and part of this is that, either people had these huge stock gains in their market, in the market, or the crypto billionaires or millionaires that have happened. There's a lot of people that have just made a lot of money. That's from the investment side, but also just what people are making month to month, just salaried employees. We're dealing with a very tight labor market, right? So there's so many open vacancies for jobs, and a potential employee, they can not necessarily name their price, but they can get way better than what they were. Which is conversely, when we're dealing with the downturn in 2008 to 2012. Employers have the upper hand, right? They're they could just treat their seemingly employees like crap.
Oh yes.
And
I worked in corporate America.
Yeah, and she got just and it's just like like you're just lucky to have a job, so don't complain. Take what money we're going to give you and deal with it. Now the tables have turned. These same employers are begging their employees to stay. They're willing to pay them way more, especially if that employee starts to get a wandering eye, seeing what other positions are. That their employer is going to. A lot of times they're going to up the ante. They want to retain that employee. So employees are in very high demand. So they're making more money. So that makes them have a lot more, disposable income to actually invest in real estate.
Okay, and then the last point that you gave, and this is a big one.
This is a huge one.
And that is inflation. Explain
Yes.
how inflation is causing prices to go up.
Yes. So what we're seeing here is, and again, we'll see how. Hopefully the Fed figures out how to balance this all out. But we're seeing inflation rates above 5% right now, which is kind of crazy and that's with their calculations. Again, like if you're just going day to day, things seem a little bit more than 5% from a year ago. But
yes.
We'll just kind of even go with that figure.
Okay.
You go with 5%. Like interest rates for a 30-year fixed loan is about what, like a little under 3%. So you're dealing with that's weird, right? Like you don't really get a situation where interest rates are lower than the inflation rate, because the idea of lending someone money, especially that's not going to be paid off for 30 years, is that you're going to get ultimately more money, real money back for taking that risk, right? You lent someone money. That's money you can't use today. But in this situation where we're dealing with interest rates actually being lower than inflation, at least if it were to extrapolate out, then what you did as a lender to loan that money is worth less ultimately at the end of the day than if you just, because of that whole shift there.
Yeah, so explain how that inflation also is.
Yeah, okay.
So
And so
how
that's
does
beyond
that-
that's on the interest rate side,
Yeah.
right? So what's interesting though is what we're seeing is that everything is more expensive. So even to let's say for real estate, to rebuild a house today is way more expensive than it was pre-pandemic. Obviously as we discussed, salaries are higher, so to hire those employees, way more expensive. Building materials have gone up crazy. Shipping costs for all that stuff, way more expensive. Everything has gotten so much more expensive that building a new house is just that a replacement property is so much more expensive than it was before. That buying an existing property kind of goes up. You're going, well, what are you going to buy otherwise? You're seeing home builders. The few home building that we're having in Orange County, they're bumping up their prices all the time because it's costing them more, but also demand is also feeling that too.
So that's it? That's our video?
So make sure that if you want to actually check out, that really cool house or a place, that you really would think we want to move to, you got to either give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email.
Or you can contact us via WhatsApp. However you want to get a hold of us, we've got your back.